Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Must Love Books podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Hope, and this week I went to the launch party for Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes, hosted by Read Between the Lynes in Woodstock, Illinois. We started off with themed cocktails, like the Cryo Tank, at Stage Left Café, followed by a reading by the author and a Q&A. Then we moved over to Read Between the Lynes for the book signing. While at the event, I recorded some of the presentation, a reading of Chapter 1, and some of the questions from the Q&A. So for today's episode of Must Love Books, I thought I would share some of it with you all. As some of you may know, S.A. Barnes, also known as author Stacey Kade, is a family friend, and I had the pleasure of hosting her on the podcast last year for her second space horror novel, Ghost Station. That is episode 45 if you want to check it out. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Cold Eternity and follow the author on Instagram at author Stacey Kade to check out her current book tour. And, without any further ado, here is the Cold Eternity launch party.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is so wonderful to see this room completely filled. I am Arlene Lynes. I own Read Between the Lynes bookstore here on the Woodstock Square, and I have had the pleasure of knowing Stacey. I don't even know how many years. It's been a long time. The store's been open 20 years. And when did you publish your first book? Which is a different book.
2010, I think.
Okay, 2010?
Uh-huh.
So I met Stacey 15 years ago. So I can do math. It's in those 5s and 10s. Anyway, we are thrilled, and it's so fun for those of you who have gotten some fancy drinks, especially those blue ones. Those blue ones are looking like a lot of fun. So I am going to introduce my bookseller, Natasha, and she's going to give you a little more background and information about Stacey, and then we're going to get Stacey up here. So thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and making this an amazing event. We really did fill up this room, which is amazing. Thank you for joining us for tonight for celebrating the launch of S.A. Barnes' latest space horror novel, Cold Eternity. S.A. Barnes is a high school librarian by day, and somehow manages to have enough time to write these amazing, horrifying stories. Since the release of Dead Silence in 2022 and Ghost Station in 2024, S.A. Barnes has been named by her fans the queen of horror, of specifically space horror. And you will continue to wear this crown with Cold Eternity, and I hope for many more books after this. Thank you, Stacey, for bringing us your amazing, horrifying stories. You have introduced many, many people to your vivid narratives that we have to set aside at night and read something else, at least come with us to our nightmares and continue to haunt us. In fact, Dead Silence was my first horror read. I saw the art for it in our store, which is advanced reader copy. It is the copies that we give out to booksellers to try and encourage them to look at new books, see what we want to promote. I saw there was a local author and went, I like sci-fi. I want to try horror. Let's start here. After finishing Dead Silence, I was very much like, I need more of this. I need more of this now. So thank you for bringing me more. Thank you not only for introducing me, but many of the staff at RBTL to horror. I've had some fun stories about people reading certain parts of the book and going, I'm done now, I'm going to bed, I'm going to read something else, I have to go to bed. And please keep them supplying, because I love these little horror nightmares. Thank you again for agreeing to join us tonight for another book launch. I had so much fun with planning this with you, and also for Ghost Station, which is my favorite still. I really love Ghost Station. Thank you for joining us, planning these things with us. It's been so much fun planning these things, talking about the drinks, going back and forth, going, what do you want to name this? What do you want to name that? What about a coffee drink? It was a lot of fun, and suggesting names and getting really fun names back. And the water, NX17 special. Yeah, perfect.
Just water.
Just water. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I look forward to reading more from you. And with that, it is your turn.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this isn't scary at all. Thank you, Natasha, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you to everybody at Read Between the Lynes. They have been amazing, incredibly supportive. Having an indie bookstore as an author who is just so encouraging and willing to put the time and effort in to help you become known in some way is amazing, because they do all this on their own time. So this is huge, and I just really appreciate it. And Natasha and I had a great time figuring out the drinks. We had a lot of fun back and forth, like, should it be blue? It should be blue. And NX17 is my favorite because it is water, because water in the future is very valuable and very scarce, because we're all living on spaceships and space stations and on planets that do not necessarily have drinkable water. So that was particularly fun for me. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is amazing. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience. We wanted to make sure everybody got a drink and got settled in before we got started. So I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about the book, maybe where the idea came from, what it's about, that sort of thing, without spoilers, because I believe very firmly that you should be scared out of your mind as you find it, not as I do. And I can do a reading if we have time for that, then we'll do Q&A or see what we have time for. Cold Eternity is space horror. I know that's a kind of an odd combination, and I'm so grateful for the people who've been willing to kind of go with it. When I sold Dead Silence, it was really interesting because we went out with it on sub to publishers, and there was like, this is a thing. It is a subgenre, but it's kind of niche. It's not something that a lot of people really like or enjoy. It's just sort of this little thing. And so many people have taken it on and gotten into it, and sci-fi people venturing into horror people venturing into sci-fi. It's awesome. I love it. And it's all because I, watched Aliens one too many times. or Event Horizon. That's the other one that I am obsessed with. So Cold Eternity is in the same universe as Dead Silence, but there is a time gap there. There's really only one little Easter egg in there that would let you know that, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want you to find it. So sequentially, in terms of publication, Dead Silence is first, Ghost Station, then Cold Eternity, but in terms of the actual timeline, Dead Silence, and then this one. So this is later in time than that. And this is the story of a young woman who has witnessed something, and I'm trying to be careful here, has witnessed something that she shouldn't have, or has figured something out that she shouldn't have as it relates to her job, and she's in danger because of that. So people are going to try to silence her in one way or another, and so she's kind of hiding out on this rundown space station called NX17. This is an inside thing. All of my space stations in this book are named after corporations. So in this case, NX17 is Enceladus, which is the moon that it's around, and Exxon, because it's Exxon, and 17 just because it's a number. So there's Amazon in there, and I forget who else I threw in there. So all these people have space stations that they paid for because it kind of seems like we're going that direction. So she's hanging out on NX17. It's not a great place to live. You have people who are working to remove the salt from the ocean that's there, which we do actually believe is there, so that we can have drinkable water, because part of the problem with space exploration and living in space is that we don't have access to drinkable water without having to haul it all from Earth, which is not a great situation. So she's out there and she's living in a hostel, and she is trying to figure out what to do next because she's afraid that people are coming after her. She finds a posting on kind of a dark web job board on this space station for like a caretaker for an empty ship. And all you have to do is, walk around, make sure everything's okay, very easy. It's not gonna pay you much, but you can live there and no one is gonna be looking for you. Like that's what her thing is. So she goes to a bar at the start of the story and is setting up for what she thinks is going to be an in-person interview. It turns out it's a holocom call. And that's when she finds out that it's not just any old ship, it's the Elysian Fields. The Elysian Fields is a dead ship, that's what they call it, and it's because it was one of many that kind of had a trending, were part of a trend about 100 years earlier to cryogenically freeze people. There was a guy, and his name is Zale Winfield, Elon, and he was a very wealthy tech guy and decided that he could defeat death, and he wanted to invite people to join his program on the Elysian Fields, where he would everybody would be cryogenically frozen, and when we have developed the technology to unfreeze you, to wake you up, and cure whatever is killing you, then you can live forever. Doesn't that sound great? Of course, at the time he was selling this program, they didn't actually have the technology to do that, but he was sure that his company, that he would be able to figure it out. 150 years go by, they're all still popsicles in space. So she is taking this job on the Elysian Fields, which is still in existence mainly because it's a bunch of wealthy people and the money is tied up in a trust to keep people, to keep this thing going, essentially, because this idea of eternal life. And she, at one point as a child, also went there on a field trip. It's kind of like a museum in a way. And there are pop stars. There's a tiny Britney reference in there. I had a lot of fun inventing people who are cryogenically frozen on this. It was a blast. So she goes and she's supposed to be taking this job, but it's super shady. Carl is her boss. He's the engineer on the ship. He's the only other theoretically living person on the ship. And he tells her, basically, you're going to do rounds, you're going to make sure there's no leaks, you're going to make sure there's nothing weird. Guess what? There's something weird. And you're going to push this button in the office, in the security office, to let the board of trustees know that you're doing your job. That's what you're supposed to do. Problem is, of course, going into this, she's incredibly sleep deprived to begin with because she's been being beaten up and chased and whatever. And now she's only getting sleep every 3 hours. So it's always 3 hours. You have to get up and press this button and do your rounds. And all the parents in the room are going, yeah, and? 3 hours sounds great right now. So it's not very long on there before she starts to find things that are very strange. The biggest one is probably during a bout of interference on the ship. The security cameras go down that she can see inside the sec office, the security office, and she swears she sees a very decrepit looking naked body crawling on the floor in one of the corridors. She's positive that that's what she's saying. Carl is not so sure. Carl is thinking that she's letting this place get to her already. That's about as far as I want to go to tell you anything more about that. But oh my gosh, you guys, I posted something about it this morning. Some books kind of fight you for every word. This is one where I was like, yeah, what can I do? What do I get to do today? Who can I invent and put in a cryo chamber that I don't like? Let's do that. There's a political aspect to this, and I don't want to get too far into this, but there is a political aspect of this because she is working for the government, the new government, and I think it was very much about where do you stand and how do you stand up for the things that you believe in, even if it means you're in danger or even if it means you're going to destroy your career. And that was really important to me because I think I had answered some interview questions earlier this week and they're like, why were you, where did that come from? I'm like, because I was trying to figure it out, because I was thinking about it, and I'll tell you, it's really interesting reading in reviews. A lot of people are like, well, I wouldn't have done that. And I'm like, well, okay then. It's really interesting. It's just very interesting. So yeah, that's the book.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
NX-17 station SL-23, SL by the way stands for station level, United Nation of Colonies, Enceladus 2223. 7 Fathoms, the establishment in question, is on station level 23. I've never been down that far, and when the lift doors open to reveal my destination, I hesitate. Theoretically, the narrow oval concourse on this level holds a variety of commercial and trade operations, places for residents on nearby levels to eat, drink, buy new boots, or trade for whatever you might need that someone else is willing to give up. But a lot of businesses appear to be shut down, closed up with heavy security gates, which have been trashed and bent inward anyway. People are gathered loosely in groups, talking loudly between fits of coughing, or sit crouched near the floor, their heads bent toward one another and their hands outstretched toward the warm air pumping out through the vents. It's darker here too, lights pulsing erratically overhead in the twitchy blue-white strobes on the edge of breakdown. The air is worse, thicker somehow, like I can feel particulates lodging themselves in my lungs. In my 5 weeks here, I've never ventured more than a few station levels from my very shitty hostel room on SL9. Theoretically, NX-17 station security is present, keeping the peace everywhere, but they don't seem to be here right now. Not that I can see, anyway. Today, though, I don't have any choice. The lift gives a warning ping, about to close its doors, but I've spotted the pub on the far side of the concourse, almost directly opposite me. 7 Fathoms is one of the few doorways still lit and seemingly operational. Raucous laughter spills out toward me. Ignoring the nerves coiling and twisting in my gut, I step out of the lift and tug at the ragged edges of my sweater hood to shade my features as much as possible. In doing so, though, my fingers collide with the swollen and tender flesh around my left eye. Sizzling lines of pain explode outward. I grit my teeth, but after a moment the sharpness fades, the injury resuming its regular, dull ache. All the more reason to get on with it, Hallie. She talks to herself a lot. I stride toward the pub, trying to find the fine line between moving with confident purpose and, well, running. The second I move, I can feel eyes on me, attention stripping away my illusion of invisibility. I don't belong down here, and they know it. These people need help. Better conditions, a small voice in my head insists. If you, no longer your problem, no longer within your power to play hero, remember? A louder, mocking voice cuts off the other. Right as I near the pub, a man stumbles out, almost colliding with me at the entrance. His eyes are glazed, his coveralls still covered in the white dust from his shift at the desalination plant. A brainer. Swaying in place, he stares at me, and I flinch and duck my head automatically. But there's no shout of recognition, no slurred proposition. After a moment, he stumbles off to the right, staring up at something no one else can see. I grimace. That's not alcohol. Daze, if I had to guess. At levels that might have him forgetting he needs to breathe, if he doesn't topple over a safety railing or down a set of stairs first. Nothing you can do about it. Keep going. I duck into the pub, tension building in my shoulders. My contact better be here. I need them to be here. It's even dimmer inside the pub, for atmosphere, for privacy maybe. More likely to say credits on power. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust. The dingy floor has given up any ghost of its one-time shiny metal surface. A thin coating of salt crunches beneath my feet with every step. Practicality for absorbing spills? Or a side effect of so much brine all the time? I don't know. On the other side of the darkened room, closer to the bar, 6 or so service workers gather around a larger table, their ruddy faces bent over their ale mugs. In one of the privacy booths ahead of me, the curtains are only partially drawn, so I have a view of a slick-looking woman dressed better than anyone in a 6-level range, and her hair pulled so tight into an elaborate braid that it barely moves, as she argues with someone on the holocom in front of her. A man, another briner in silt-covered coveralls, lies stiffly in the booth next to her, eyes wide and fixed on the ceiling. Daze. I knew it. Dealer and another buyer. People will always find a way to step on others, to create a seedy underbelly to any location, even on a remote space station where it's better to keep your head down and your eyes to yourself. Before the dealer notices me, I make myself look away. I don't need any more trouble. I turn cautiously in a circle, checking the pub's other occupants. Very few of them sit alone at a table, and those who are alone don't appear to be waiting for someone. My heart plummets. The posting, hidden on a hidden branch of the NX-17 internal net, had seemed too good to be true. Caretaker/security monitor wanted for dry dock ship. No experience necessary. Low wages, but room and board included. Must be comfortable. with isolated working environment and limited outside contact. Room and board without prying eyes or hands around sounded perfect, maybe too perfect. But my weary brain sought and found rationalization. It was probably some wealthy owner, one with more vessels than good sense, who didn't want his baby sitting empty for months at a time out here, no one but the quartermaster half paying attention to it. I wasn't thrilled about the low wages part. I couldn't live like this forever, and credits were the only thing that would eventually get me out, even if it was just to return home. In my former life, the idea of responding to a post on a black market employment board, one I'd only learned of by overhearing the other hostel residents discussing it, would have sounded as bizarre as shimmying naked on the floor of New Parliament, and equally as likely. But that was the old me. The new me needs to eat and find a safe place to sleep. Okay, in the front, right here.
Well, I was gonna say, what do your students think about this? Do they read your books?
They are the least impressed people. I think they just do not, they keep me humble. They do not care at all.
I would think that this genre might appeal to them.
They are on the shelf and they do read them. The hilarious part is, like, some of them do know, and so they'll be like, oh, hey, that's mine. They're like, yeah, I know. Okay? And then other times, they'll check it out, and I'll be like, well, what did you think? Yeah, it's okay. And then, but there are sweet. I did get an email actually. So my school's amazing, and the first book that came out, Dead Silence, they actually bought a copy for all the English. So the media center is part of the English department. They bought a copy for every classroom in the English department. And so then I had a kid who apparently picked it up, and he emailed me. I mean, you have to understand, these guys don't do long form communication. So he sat down and wrote me a 2-paragraph email telling me how much he loved the book. I printed it out and put it in my keepsake box at home because it was amazing. But most of the time, they do not care. They are far more interested in cutting class or the fact that I'm going to catch them and they're eating, Takis in the library.
So it was a question about your next book. You said it was more like romance.
My sister is snickering over here. Yes.
Is it still going to be like space horror with romance? Or
So-
just like a completely different.
Before anybody panics, I still plan to write space horror, but my next book is not space horror. It is what is considered a grounded or contemporary fantasy, romantasy technically. If you are a Buffy fan, am I Buffy people? Okay, if you're a Buffy person, this will work. Just know that the whole Buffy Angel Spike stuff is on screen. Stevie, spicy. So I can tell you the concept of it. It's called Death's Daughter. It'll be out in May 2026. And it is about a girl who is trying to live a very normal life. Her name is Jo. She's going to a small college on the East Coast. She is the daughter of death, but she works really hard to have a normal life as a college student. The downside is the one thing she can't avoid is that she does have to feed off of humans. She could take life directly from them, but she does not want to do that. So she kind of sips on what she calls emotional death, so rejection, failure, that kind of stuff, which there's plenty of on a college campus. And she kind of sustains herself that way. And she has friends, and she has inappropriate feelings for her former TA. And nobody's really dealing with magic here. This is not a thing. And she's out with her friends at the bar, and then one night, and she's contemplating staying longer in this area, in this college, because she feels safe there. It's a dead zone. There's nobody else like her around. That's good. Until somebody like her shows up and basically kind of magics the entire bar. And he's a descendant of lust, so you can imagine what that causes. And she goes over to him and has to confront him, and he tells her, well, I'm here because, I want an alliance with you. She has no idea what he's talking about. And then he realizes that she doesn't know, and this is not a spoiler in any way, but it's been announced then that her father has named her as a successor, that she will be the new death. And she's like, oh no, thank you. I'm not doing that. But the problem is that there are then deaths occurring because people are trying to, either sway her one direction or another, or make her stop, or cause her pain. And so she has to sort of take on figuring out what's going on while also hiding her identity from her friends. And this is one that I had so much fun. I was like writing it at night, in the morning, and in my car over lunch, and I just had a blast. And it does have, by the way, we sold the rights to the UK as well, and they were like, it's got more horror than most romance. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, like you can't take that out of me. So I mean, I do hope that people will give it a chance. I know it's a different genre, but I think if you're a Buffy person, you will be fine. So, and I loved it, and I hope you'll try it for that reason.
Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @MustLoveBooksPodcast. Thank you and happy reading.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.